Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day.
Faith of our founding forefathers and mothers.
When Jesus walked.
History is God's providence in human affairs. Noah Webster.
When Jesus walked. He washed my sins away.
Affectionately known as the Angel of the Rockies, Clara Brown was born into slavery around 1800, somewhere in Virginia. She was bought and sold like a common object on multiple occasions, moving from town to town, working from dawn to dusk, living in shanties where the cold earth was her bed and a rock her pillow. However, at 18, a glimmer of happiness entered her life when she met and married a fellow slave to whom she bore 4 healthy children. However, after several years, and while her children were still young, her heart and life were once again shattered as her husband and children were auctioned off to different masters, all headed west. Weeping uncontrollably as she watched her family sold away from her, she vowed in her heart to work hard the rest of her life, first to free herself, and second to find her lost family. Suddenly, in 1856, her then master fell dead, and miraculously, George Brown's remaining family helped her to attain freedom. For 56 long years as a slave, and 36 of those years separated from her husband and children, she was now ready to begin her life's mission.
Find my family.
Although she did have a little money, blacks were not allowed to ride the stagecoach in those days, so she knew she would have to walk. Having no education and being illiterate, she had no idea where to begin, but did remember one word from her daughter's auction 36 years ago that might apply. That word was
West. We're a-going west.
So all alone, having nothing more than the clothes on her back and a few dollars in her pocket, with one objective, she simply stepped in the direction of the setting sun, declaring,
I must find my family.
Incredibly, the Almighty God looked down and had mercy upon his pitiful servant. After beginning her journey, Clara providentially crossed the path of a caravan of white prospectors who were traveling west to Colorado for the gold rush. Clara was able to talk them into allowing her to travel along, working as their cook. They provided her with a western direction and protection, and she provided them with some good old-fashioned down-home cooking. The journey was long, tough, and exhausting. She walked alongside the wagons for nearly 1,000 miles. Upon arriving in Denver, she immediately began the search for her daughter, but nothing turned up. So she decided to stay with the caravan which traveled on to Central City, Colorado in 1859. The town was made up of gold mines, small stores, saloons, and shacks of gold miners and their families. After pondering what to do next, she decided on 2 goals: making herself financially free and finding her family. She told herself,
If I could just accomplish the first goal, it would give me the confidence to accomplish the second.
So after evaluating her skills, Clara decided to open up a small laundry service for the gold miners of Central City. The God who satisfies the desire of every living thing immediately began prospering her hand, and she immediately began to save her money. By 1865, in only her 6th year of business, she was able to save $10,000, which is equivalent to $171,000 today. With the money she did not save, she invested in mining claims and Colorado real estate. As she continued to prosper, her Christian faith inspired her to reach out to others. She made her business and her home community gathering places. Using Matthew 25 as her guide, she began to take in the sick and injured miners, regardless of their race, and nurse them back to health. She helped the homeless until they had somewhere to go. She was called upon to help deliver the babies of pregnant women, and much of the time she worked for free. Her donations were critical in helping to build a Catholic and Protestant church in the area. She started the first Sunday school program and used her own home as the first classroom. However, her heart was still burdened by her family. After much prayer and pondering, she set out first for Kentucky and then to Tennessee. But the trail went cold. However, what she did find was many of her relatives, which she immediately began to pay for them and to move them back with her to Colorado. She even freed and paid for other black non-relatives to return with her, where she then helped them all to find work. In 1882, out of nowhere, she received word that a black woman named Eliza, which was the exact name of her daughter, lived in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Without hesitation, she packed up and headed back east to Iowa. Miraculously, after a 47-year separation, Clara and her beloved daughter Eliza were reunited. They shouted, hugged, danced, and wept. Immortalized as Aunt Clara Brown, as well as an angel of the Rockies, she passed away in her sleep at 85 years old, just 3 years after reuniting with her daughter. Crowds flocked to her funeral. The mayor of Denver and the governor of Colorado both attended. The Colorado Pioneer Association made Clara Brown their first African American member and funded her entire funeral. A chair in the Central City Opera House was installed in her name. In 1977, Clara's life and achievements were commemorated with a stained glass portrait of her in the state capitol building. She also has a plaque at the St. James Methodist Church in Central City, which explains that her home served as the first church in the area. An opera about her life called Gabriel's Daughter debuted in Central City in 2003. Her lifelong philosophy was, "I always go where Jesus calls me."
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me